Hello everybody, it's been a pretty quiet week so far. Since the last update, I've done absolutely nothing except subscribing to the rights for Capital Land India Trust and IREIT Global. Which is a good thing because the quiet downtime means that I have more time to scrutinize MIT Mapletree Industrial Trust annual report for 2023. And after reading through the report in quite good detail, I clarified a bunch of my doubts actually, and I'm even more confident of my purchase. And I intend to make it a very decent core holding for my portfolio. Talk about the weightage of this REIT in my portfolio in the last video, so do check it out if you have interest. The first doubt to clarify is of course the impact of rising interest rates, and I think it's very clear actually. There's nothing much to worry about that. Leverage is around 37%, ICR around 5. If you look at the borrowing cost, it's also not that high. It's just 3%, right? So pretty much back to where we were in 2020, 2019 and 2020. The debt tenor is around 4 years, which is nice and high. And if you look at the debt expiry profile, it's just 10% over the next 2 years, right? So what's the big deal? I don't think there's a lot to worry about, and this is clearly shown in these pictorials. I think they've made efforts to talk about the situation in North America. I think the recent correction in the share price is a lot of fear mongering and undue concerns. And about the data center industry bankruptcies and stuff. I think the bankruptcy of a few of their tenants is just idiosyncratic cases. It's not indicative of the general market and industry in general. They talk about it as well. There are some leases coming up, and they are looking at the replacement tenants and possible AEIs and repositioning and stuff. I think this guy, the manager, is strong, and I think they should be able to cope with the renewals in the coming few years. Maybe there will be some downtime, maybe some rent reduction, but I don't think the possible DPU down reduction is justified in the share price. I think it's excessive. It's not justified. I think a lot of the mitigating factors can be explained by looking at the top markets in North America in terms of data centers. Look at the top 16 key markets in North America and just focus on the first four, right? North Virginia, Dallas, Silicon Valley, and New York, New Jersey. So it's like in the east, in the south, in the west, and the northeast. So these four markets are the primary markets, right? And then you have the rest and of course the secondary markets. And look at the data center portfolio for MIT. Look at the cluster they have in Virginia, right? The top market. Well, if you're in a market with a lot of demand, a lot of clusters of data centers working together, I don't think you have to worry about it too much. So they have a big cluster in Virginia, decent cluster in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York and stuff. They have of course California. They have stuff in Texas and Georgia and Tennessee actually. I think the coming expiries are centered around the stuff in Tennessee. But if you go to Google Map and look at the property, it's a pretty large property, which is why people are concerned about it. But I think the look of the property seems well located, and it's a bit of a campus-like environment, right? So I think even if the data center is not renewed in terms of the lease, they should be able to reposition it into a campus or something. Which maybe some biomedical guys or the tech guys would be interested and lease it. So we'll have to watch what happens, but I'm not too worried about it actually. Especially if you look at the general markets and positionings that they have in Virginia, California, Texas, and the New York, New Jersey area. Well located data centers. Not too worried actually. So if you look at the what they say about the key data centers trends in North America, in the past 5 years, it has CAGR 12.3%, right? And if you look at what they forecast going forward, cloud computing is still gonna continue in the future, and organizations will just continue to pivot into cloud adoptions, go and transition towards hybrid work environment. So I think it's an irony, right? If you're bearish on the office environment in the US, which I think you should be, I think commercial real estate in US is gonna be down for quite a long time actually. Then you should be actually going towards anything which is hybrid in concept, and that means cloud That means data centers. So I think if you're bearish on commercial real estate, then you should be bullish on data centers. So look at it, the demand is still strong. So I think it's still going to continue to grow. One thing which was quite new to me was actually the focus on power resources. This is something which I think is not discussed much in the general public. And I think there's this concept that in the US, you can just build data centers here, there, everywhere, and there's a lot of supply. I don't think that's true at all. Land might be more available in the US as compared to the Singapore and Hong Kong, but your power resources restricting the coming online of a supplier, especially with the focus on the green energies and stuff. There's increasingly difficulties in sourcing for power resources, since it's taking much more time for power to come online. Look at the growth of data centers. Look at the total addressable markets, just growing, right? So whilst there are some concerns about the rise of the self-built data centers, especially by the hyperscalers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Oracle and stuff, you see that the co-location, the capacity is still growing, right? So while the self-built capacity is growing, seems to be faster, but the wholesale co-location capacity is still progressing very strong. Look at what's going on. Corporations need a more scalable and flexible IT structure for their needs. And I think this co-location demand is not going away anytime soon. Look at Northern Virginia, which is the top data center demand markets in the US. Look at what they are saying. Actually, it's consistent, right? There are a lot of data centers under construction, but power constraints is the limiting factor. So it's not land, which is the limiting constraint, as in Singapore and Hong Kong. It's power, especially with the focus on green energies and stuff. So it's not just you can build a data center with this empty land. You need the proximity to a dense fiber network and then reliable power supply. And this is increasingly hard to come by in the US. So if you go to the annual report and go and read not just on Northern Virginia, they also talk about California, then Texas and stuff. It's all the same picture. The picture is that power supply is one of the key limiting factors, and I think this is something that the investors are overlooking, and they are under the wrong impression that you can just build a data center anywhere and demand will come. It's not true at all, I think. I think that addresses the data center concerns. I think this development in Kallang Way is looking really exciting. The more I look into it, the more I think it's promising. It's already 40%, 44% occupied, pre-committed, I think. And if you look at the rental they're commanding, it's around mid $4, $4.50, $4.60, which is quite high, right, compared to the average $2+ rent in the Singapore portfolio. And if you can get around 15-20% rental occupancy pickup committed by the end of the year, you're looking at a very, very sizable rental bump up for the rest of the year, which goes a long way actually in offsetting possible weaknesses in the US data center leasings, possible rising financing costs. And actually, I think with this development, they might even be able to keep DPUs flat or even higher than last year. So in an environment where I think DPUs for S-REITs are going to continue to drop on the rising financing costs, I think this might be an outlier where the DPU will actually start rising due to this very, very good redevelopment. So if you look at what they've done, I think this is extremely well planned and executed. They've redeveloped this whole property without issuing equity. They've just done DRP, and the unit holders have accepted the DRPs very, very heartedly. Take-up rate is 40%, which is pretty decent. I think a large part of it is actually the support from the sponsor actually. Once again, very good manager and very, very good sponsor. I like it. Finally, I think something that is also not very well understood, or maybe not in the investors' mind, is the possible of recycling of capital. I think this stuff from the sponsor will definitely come at some stage. 50% more in the Rosewood Data Center Trust. And if you look at the cap rate of this stuff, it's around 5%, right? So how do you pay for this stuff while being accretive? I think one good thing though is that they can just divest some of their properties, especially this property. I think if you look at the this stuff, this is the only one, right, that is a stack up or ramp up building. And this is not really industrial, right? I think this is more logistics. And look at the valuation is around $500 million, right? So if you can devise this, if they can divest this stuff at good exit yield, either to its sister read Mapletree Logistics or to some third party buyers, and especially in this environment where industrial logistics properties, especially well spec logistics properties are in demand, they can sell this stuff and just rotate the capital into some of this stuff, or even go and purchase more data centers in Japan, as they've just done the first acquisition in Japan. So I think the scope for capital recycling is also very significant, and once they do that, there'll be a DPU accretion again. So actually, if you look at the what's happening, and the conclusion that I have, first of all, the higher interest rates is not going to cause a big problem. I think the concerns about data centers and the industry is overplayed. I think there might be some possibilities of non-renewal in the US data center leases, but I think they should be able to backfill it or maybe reposition the assets, albeit at some downtime. I think the Singapore redevelopment of the Kallang property is going to create a DPU accretion. And lastly, there's a lot of scope for capital recycling and the portfolio reconstitution. So with that, I think I'm even more convinced that my purchase was right, and I'm going to hold it on for a very long time and wait for DPU accretion and markets to realize that they are completely wrong.